Hello and welcome back, friends. Welcome to lab 5. This lab is this demonstration or the lab is about image service glance installation and configuration and verification with some sample image upload. To start with, what we need to do is we need to create a database on MySQL, and then we need to populate the database. We need to create some service user. We need to create some endpoints. So these are going to be the broad topics of the session. So to start with, let's create MySQL database. So start MySQL. So for that we need to switch over to root user sudo su hyphen. This is in continuation of the previous lab. So the next part, that is in last session what we discussed was the dashboard, and keystone we have already configured, dashboard we have already configured. Now this is the image service. So let's create the database. Create database glance. So we need to create the database. Then we need to, same process will remain the same. If you have watched my previous lab, process will more or less will remain the same. Grant all privileges on glance.star to glance at the rate localhost identified by glance db password. And please remember, this part is going to be important because I'm going to use it in the configuration file. So same query again, only thing is that instead of this localhost we need global, that is %sign. So other than that, rest will remain the same. So there will be two different users created with this. Alright, then we need to go back and exit from here and exit from here, and now we should work on the OpenStack. Alright, now what we need is we need to source our admin file, admin, that is the file which we created, source admin openrc, the file which we created in keystone configuration at time of keystone configuration, where we dump all the variables and their values, and we created environment variables. Alright, so source that file, and now we're going to create a glance user with this. Alright, so let's create a glance user. OpenStack create user, and domain is default, and password prompt means it's going to ask the password, and the username is glance, and the password I'm going to give is glance pass. Okay, yes, it is asking for the password, GLANCEPASS. So password I'm going to use glance pass, which is P is in uppercase, rest all small. So this is the password which will be required in the script also. So domain is created, enabled, and user is created. Now what we need to do is we need to add admin role to this user, right? So we need to admin role to the glance user and service project. So glance OpenStack role add project service user glance, and role is admin. So we are going to add this. So this is done, and then next is we're going to create the service entity. Alright, so glance service act entity, that is image service. So we need to create that also. This is how we are adding the role admin. So this glance user will become admin. Role is added, and now we are OpenStack service create. We are creating a service with the name glance. The description will be the Skillpedia OpenStack image, and the service name is going to be glance, that is image service name, and then we create endpoints now. Alright, we need to create endpoints, and 3 endpoints will be created, one for public, one for internal, and one for admin. So OpenStack endpoint create region 1 image public, and this is a URL. Now if the endpoint already exists, it may throw an error, because in the last lab I just tried to create an endpoint without knowing this the image service installed or not. So it may throw an error, but that should not be a problem, because if that already exists, we'll simply ignore it and we'll move on to that. Yes, it is already there, right? So no problem, but we created only one endpoint. I did not create internal endpoint or admin endpoint. So I'm creating now it is internal. If you look at so OpenStack endpoint create region 1 image internal, right? So this is internal endpoint. This was not created, in even admin endpoint was not created. So we are creating the rest of the two also. Oh, for this also it is created. So let's create the admin endpoint now. Okay, so that means it says that endpoint is existing. Let me delete all the endpoints and we'll do it again. So OpenStack, I need to verify because I doubt. OpenStack endpoint list. So this will list the endpoints, and I'll grab the image endpoints and I'll delete all of them. So there is only one endpoint there with the image service type image. So let me remove it. Okay, OpenStack endpoint delete, and this endpoint is creating problem for me. Let me simply delete it. Now it is deleted. Now if I use again, that there should be no endpoint with this name, right? So let's issue all the three commands one by one now, because endpoint must exist. Without that there is no reason. Now this is one, that is public service matches. Oh, we need to delete the service name. Okay, OpenStack service list, because there is a service with the name image created, so we need to remove that. No problem. So we'll delete that service and we'll create again everything. This conflict happens if you try out of way something, right? We'll delete this service. If there are more than one, then definitely there's a problem. Okay, and now again I'm going to delete this also, next one also, and I'll create the services also again, because this conflict, if the conflict happens, definitely there's a problem. Okay, now we go back and create the service again, right? Service create command. We'll start with service create command. That was the first command, service create. This is what we wanted to create, service create name glance, and this is the image service we created now, because there should be no conflict now. Service list. Now we have the glance image service, and now we create the endpoints also, right? Let's go back and create the endpoints. So this is public endpoint first, created. Now this is second one was this public endpoint is created, yes. Then next was the admin endpoint, this will also be created, yes. Now admin and public created. Now we need to create the internal endpoint also. So if that is how you troubleshoot. If you try without any region, and this is the internal endpoint. Okay, so all the three endpoints are created successfully. Now if you issue the command OpenStack endpoint list, you will see all the three endpoint for this already created, glance, right? So internal, admin and public, all the three endpoints properly created on this now. So here we have created the identity service on the keystone for image glance, right? So we are good to go now. We exit from here, or we go to switch user root, that is super user, and then we install the packages. Okay, install glance. It will install dependent package also. Done, installation is done. Now we need to open and edit the file, main configuration file. which is glance-api.conf file, and obviously we need to make some changes into this file. The first is going to be the database, so let's search slash backslash square bracket database. So here it is. This is the database we need to change. So let's comment it out and put our own connection settings here, right? So like the way, the more or less, if once you have configured one service, no, you'll find it easy. Why? Because the methodology or the sequence of steps is more or less the same. So connection MySQL, py MySQL, glance username, and glance password. So username, password, and this is the host name, and this is the database name. So the same connection settings are to be given every time. Now then we need to look at the keystone. We need to make changes into the another setting, and that is keystone auth token. We need to make changes into this also, and here we need to look at the URL. Okay, here might be given. Yes, it is already given. Look at this. So right now it says none is given, so we need to change this. Let's open a new line and let's make an entry here for auth URL. So this is going to be our auth URL. So that is www_authenticate URI controller, because this is our host name and the endpoint for that, right? And then after that we need to make changes into this auth URI also, that is auth URL. So this also need to be changed. Let's insert a line here also and enter that same URL is to be given here also. Okay, that is auth URL controller colon 5000. That is going to be the auth URI, right? Then memcache server, we need to look at and search for this memcache. So memcache server, right? So let's look at this memcache servers. Do we have this mem cached underscore server? And now this is the option. Where is that option? Do we have it? Yes, this is the server. So we need to make entry here also, and this server is going to be our 111.2.1.1. that is IP address, that is host name and the port name of our server. Okay, auth type is password. Let's search auth type. Right now it says nothing, so we need to make changes into this. So YYP, remember I always what I do is I comment out the existing and replace it with my own settings. Alright, auth type is equal to password. Okay, and then we need to, what we need to do is project domain name, that should be the default. Let's take a look at this slash project domain name. So if that is not there, no problem, we'll add it, and we'll add all these things to this. So let's take a look at, and we need to make changes into this. Project domain name is the default, user domain name default, project name service, user glance, and password is glance db password, right? Do we have the same setting somewhere else? If that is there, that will conflict and our service will not work. So let's take a look. Project underscore name. So where these settings are? So here we have, no, this is not there. Good. So there was only one location, and we already done that. Perfect, we are good to go. Next is paste underscore deploy option. Let's look at that also. Paste underscore deploy, this section we need to make changes into this. Flavor is equal to keystone, we need to check this. flavor is equal to keystone, that might be there. I need to just uncomment that line. Correct, it is there. So YYP, uncomment the line, keystone is that, right? Next is glance store. Glance store, glance underscore store, and here we need to specify store, what type of store it is. So here we need to look at that glance store options available. What options we have? Yeah, here file, same, we need this one only. So YYP, and we need to change it to file and FTP, HTTP, perfectly fine, file and HTTP, right? And default store is what? Let's take a look at that default store. What is given? Default, do we see that? Default store, yes, default store. So YYP, and change it, and it should be file. That's fine. And then definitely we must specify the directory for file store directory also. We're given a file, and we need to specify the file system store directory. Let's take a look at that. Do we have that value here? File stores directory, we need to check that value also. Let me search for that value, file system store directory. That must be given here. Let's try. Here it is. So we need to change this. YYP, uncomment it, file system where lib glance images, makes sense, that's good enough. So we need to uncomment the line, and this file editing is done. Next is we need to edit the file glance registry.conf file. So we need to change that also. So let's look at that file also, glance registry.conf, and here also we need to look at the database first. So //database, the first thing is the database configuration, right? So we need make it comment out so that it does not affect. It's always suggested that you change the settings to the don't add your own settings. Better is you comment out those settings and then start yourself. So connections, MySQL, py MySQL, glance db password, controller, glance. So these are the connection settings. Then keystone auth token, keystone auth token. Here also we need to make changes. Let me just go through and quickly replace all these values, right? And so that what happens is, if I put them into one place, I will have the advantage that I will just keep them uncommented things as they are, right? So let me start with that, where the URL is here. Let me put it here only, okay? And then what we do is we just paste all the values here. So authenticate URI, auth URL, memcache server, auth type password, project domain name default, user domain default, project name service, username glance, and password glance password, right? This is what I've been using. So because all the settings are comment out right now, so it's good, you can see that all these values are there. So better to put them in one place. You don't have to worry about that, go one by one, right? So we have already done these settings. Now next will be next section will be paste deploy. So / paste deploy section, and here we need to look at the flavor, right? Flavor is keystone. So YYP, and uncomment this line, flavor is equal to keystone. That's it, job is done. Now what we should do is we should populate the database. The database created, service ID created, configuration settings done, we should populate the database. Similar command, the command which we used yesterday for the keystone, right? So this is the command, and for that what I will do is I will monitor it, the database at its growth. So I'm opening another window just to show you here. Okay, stack all right, and I'm going to log in as the username and password which I have created for this purpose, so that I can show you how the database is being populated. All right, so MySQL -u glance -p -h controller, that is host name is controller, and the password is glance db pass, which I created. Now I'll see the databases here, show databases, and I'll see my own database only, that is glance, right? So use glance, okay, and now show tables. Right now there should be no tables, right? There's nothing. So what I'll do is I'll simply see the tables being created as I press enter key on this command. Let's see. If they are not created, that means there's something wrong. Is it creating? Let me see the show tables. Even now it's showing empty, right? That means the tables are not created being. So definitely, as usual, as we seen yesterday, there might be some errors. So no problem, we'll see the database related errors and all these errors. So that should not be a problem. Okay, either it is a database error or the settings error, so we'll see that. Okay, show tables, right now nothing. So I'm sure there is some error somewhere. So let me switch to user super user su hyphen, okay, and let's see the database specific logs, tail hyphen f, because I'm not going to waste that much of time. I know there might be some error somewhere. Tail hyphen f where log MySQL and error log. So socket ready for connection. There is no error with respect to this. So what is the error here? Oh, here we can see some output. File glance manage exit. Somewhere there might be. Okay, here it is. It is showing glance registry line number 1271 unexpected continuation line, and here it is the error. So that means there is a space here, and that is one problem. So we need to check this, failed to pass the line. Fair enough. Let's open this file vim, and this line we need to open 1271 line number in this line. Insert and colon 1271, and here it is. Yes, the space is not allowed, man. That was the problem. So be careful about these things. These are small issues, very small issues, but then they create problem, and that's how we learn, right? So let's check now if the tables are being created, and it's not asking, it's not showing any problem here. Let's see that. Exit, and if there is any error, we'll see that also. Glance db pass use glance, okay, show tables, and look at the tables are created. That means the database is populated successfully, and here also we got the good news that database is synced successfully. Fantastic. Now we need to restart the glance registry service. Okay, so glance registry service restart. In fact, we should create a link systemctl enable and glance registry. if there is a system D service available for this, that should be enabled. Fine. So that and at runtime you don't have to restart it again and again, right? Same thing here also, glance API, and for this also we are doing this enable glance API. So this is also enabled. So service restarted, okay, and API available. Now we need to download an image and need to populate and try this and practice this, right? So exit from here, source your admin source.openrc file, okay. So once you source that, you have all those environment variables again, and now what you should is you should get the CirOS image, right, which is available at this download.circloud.net, and version 4.0 is available, and I'm downloading that image. Let's see that. Yes, downloaded. You can see that in the file. Yes, the image is downloaded and available here. So I'm going to upload this image on my database and I'm going to use it. Alright, so let's make it available. Upload the image to the image service using a QCOW2 format, because the image format is QCOW2 and bare container format, and it should be available for public, right? So for that I need to give this command: OpenStack image create CirOS, file name as I downloaded, disk format QCOW2, container format bare, and availability is for public. And then once it is uploaded in the database, I can use OpenStack image list command to check the details to see whether it is uploaded successfully or not. And in the meanwhile, let me start my dashboard also. I'll show the same thing on the dashboard also. This is my dashboard. So here we are, controller horizon, and I'm going to show you on the dashboard if it is available on the dashboard also. It's still working. There should be no region to fail, and if it fails, no need to panic. We'll troubleshoot it by going through the logs and identifying the issue. Okay, so now it is image is created. Take a look at this. OpenStack image list, and you will see the image name here. You see all the details available. Let's wait for the output. In the meanwhile, we should be able to see the image here. Under project or admin, we'll see where it is available. It's taking time, so nothing to worry. So it might be available under compute and then images, the image we uploaded. Because we gave the admin right to a glance user, we should see that here. It should be visible. Let's see, because image is uploaded, that's for sure. It is visible here. You can see that image value available for public. So we may have to just refresh and log in and log out again, because I'm not able to. Yeah, here it is. Look at this image. So this is the image which is available. So click on this image and you see the details of the image also. Look at this. So on the dashboard you can see the image ID, status is active, size, right, bare metal, and custom properties. So good, we can see the image. Now if you go to the images, you can create new image also, you can upload new images also. Let me create new image from the dashboard also. By the way, image management, creation, launching machines from the images, we have a dedicated lecture on this. This was more of configuration and installation and verification that yes, the image service is configured successfully. All right. So this session was only objective was to create, to install, configure the image service. Okay, that was the objective. Glance. So we have successfully created, installed, configured Glance image service. I'm just waiting for the output of my command OpenStack image list. I can see that on the dashboard, but yes, I want to see that here also. Yes, so you can verify the image is available. You have verified the image on the command line, you have verified the image at the dashboard, and you have seen the details of the image. That's all for this session. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.